Welcome everyone to Talking Textiles. I'm Kyle Van Dam, a member of the Marine Fabricators Association and owner of Marine Tops Unlimited. Joining and co-hosting with me today is Mark Tyrell, member of the ATA Canada Division and owner of LaSalle Canvas. We are your hosts for today's discussion. The goal of this podcast is to get to know the wide variety of positions and markets that make the advanced textiles world turn. We will be talking to professionals in different roles throughout this series to help inspire the next generation of textiles professionals and anyone interested in learning about others' journeys in the world of textiles. ATA offers advanced textiles content throughout the year, including the upcoming Tent Expo taking place January 9th through the 11th in Daytona, and the Marine Fabricators Conference being held January 25th through 27th in St. Pete Beach. Please visit textiles.org/events to learn more. On today's episode, we are live from the Advanced Textiles Expo and speaking with Jeff Sponseller, Executive Vice President of Miller Weldmaster, Michael Woody, CEO of Transtex LLC, Todd Pusser, CAD designer at Marine Tops Unlimited, and Erin Parker, a PhD candidate at North Carolina State University. And now, let's talk textiles.
Hi, I'm Mark Tyrell. Welcome back to part 2 of our live recording of Talking Textiles in the Hub at Advanced Textile Expo 2023 in Orlando, Florida. Our guests are Jeff Sponseller, Michael Woody, Todd Pusser, and Erin Parker.
Erin, I'm going to throw something over to you that we were just talking about. Give us a little snapshot of that thesis that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Okay.
I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to dive into and let you explain a little bit and what that was all about.
Yeah, so hold on to your hats. It's going to be a little bit of terminology coming your way. So I'm in the space of e-textiles, and a lot of organizations are currently working on creating new standardized methods for those products. So I was working with an organization called IPC, who is traditionally in the electronic space, and it was working towards creating these new standards. And so I performed a ruggedness test on one of their new e-textile standards for abrasion resistance. So basically what that means is I looked at the standard and I was making sure that the process itself was going to give repeatable results. I was testing just a simple e-textile product. I didn't really care about the material in this current iteration of the standard, but I was just making sure the standard itself had the correct recommendations, the correct just process that someone could follow it and get good results out of it.
Give us a little bit of an overview. It's NC State is where you're at.
Yes. So I actually just started at NC State.
Okay.
For my master's and undergrad, I was at Mississippi State.
Okay. In the Carolinas, there's a lot of textile manufacturers there. So I think that's one of the reasons they have a need for programs around that type of a field. But give us an overview of kind of those programs that they have there at NC State, kind of really what you're doing and what, I know they have some lab for testing and some things. I haven't personally been there myself. I haven't been able to see it. So give us kind of an overview for the rest of us here that haven't been able to be there and what that's capable of doing and what you can go to school for there and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So NC State is going to be your only college of textiles kind of in the country. So usually like at Mississippi State, it's just the fashion design department. It's kind of within the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, but NC State has a whole college of textiles completely dedicated to textiles. There's a number of undergraduate programs, and that spans from like fashion management, more of your merchandising and supply chain focuses, to fashion design, and also textile engineering and textile science, which is more of your dyes, chemistries, actually fabric creation. So there's a wide range of things that NC State really covers, especially in curriculum. I'm in one of their 2 PhD programs, textile technology management. And so I'm working in kind of the dedicated e-textiles research group. And we have capabilities for screen printing, inkjet printing, embroidery, all of e-textiles. But there's also in a part of the textile extension at NC State capabilities of knitting labs. So we have fully circular machines, a fully capable sock machine, glove machines, whole garment machines, everything like that. There's also a fully capable weaving lab. And then there's also an entire non-wovens institute there. So I don't know if anyone is in the nonwoven space that might be listening. But if you are, you probably have worked or heard of at least the Nonwovens Institute. And so really the opportunity for industry to get involved at NC State is if you have a project that needs to be done, we can put a number of people on it. Usually it's either undergraduate or graduate students to help you solve your problems. The easiest way to do that is through our senior design class. So we'll put a group of undergraduate students on your project, and for a full academic year, they will be working on solving whatever problem it is that you have. So I think that's a really interesting way for the industry to kind of give back to students, but also just to solve their problems in a really cost-effective way.
Erin, I'd be interested to know, this industry is not the sexiest one around. What made you choose textiles?
So I actually came into my undergraduate program at Mississippi State wanting to work on wearable technology. So I was actually a double major in computer engineering and fashion design. That's kind of why I chose Mississippi State, is because you could do that. I don't know. I've just always loved both science and math and textiles. I've been knitting since I was in the 4th grade, and I just really wanted to bring these two things together. There is just so much opportunity for kind of that integration and implementation and just advancement of technology in this space, because textiles are something that we're not going to be getting rid of anytime soon.
So, Erin, a chance encounter opportunity. The University of Rhode Island also has some a textile department, and they're also working on some of the things that you were just talking about. Perhaps I can put you in touch with those folks. Maybe there are ways that as educational institutions can collaborate. Could be good.
So Erin, tell us then further upon that, kind of what are you looking to, what's your goal when you're done with the years of school that you're doing and being the smartest person on this table? What are you looking to do after that? What do you want to do as a career? What's your goal for something like that?
Yeah, so I'm really looking to stay in academia. You know, some people might be disappointed, but I had really great mentors and people that I worked with going through my time in undergrad, my master's, that I really want to give back to students in that way. And for my dissertation, I'm actually focusing on entrepreneurship, and I've had the opportunity to commercialize some of my research and have a startup that has kind of come out of that. And I want to help students do that as well, because there, are definitely bumps as a student, especially in a place like Mississippi where there aren't as many resources. Trying to get something like that off the ground. And so I want to be able to take the experiences that I have and just give back to students and really just teach them everything that I've learned.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to hire Erin, I think I'm going to have to work for her. Pretty sure.
Actually, along those lines, Erin, are you actually helming a startup right now as you're finishing your PhD?
So I'm currently non-managing. I was for a year and a half one of the 4 people of our startup that was really trying to develop our business. I was focusing a lot on not only our prototype development and trying to push that along, but also our just business development. So what are your core values? What is our mission? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Who's really our target customer? So I have stepped back a little bit from that in a PhD program, since that is taking up a lot of my time. But I will shameless plug umo.golf on Instagram. We are trying to bring technology into the world of golf and really help people improve their golf game. And we want to help you shoot below 80. So I don't know if anyone plays golf, but
There's no way. And I'm a pretty good athlete. There's just no way. But I volunteer. You can
we
try.
want to prove you wrong. Yeah.
I think you just signed up to be a test case.
But that's
I think we all heard it. The audience is going to hear it.
Another chance encounter of the AT Expo. Get your email. We'll send you.
There is a Top Golf right down the road from here. So we're going there and we're going to fix my golf game tonight.
All right.
We're doing it.
Challenge accepted, Erin?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Along those lines, I mean, you mentioned some of the different programs and the way that people could get PhD students maybe to work on a project. Does NC State also offer like an apprenticeship or intern program where, like, as they're leaving, or is it, is that something that people in the industry could reach out to look for maybe their next employees or people that could work in their companies?
Yeah. I don't know if we have specifically an internship kind of program, but we do have semester career fairs both as a university and in the College of Textiles. So if your company was interested in coming and having a booth maybe at the career fair and trying to find students, that is an opportunity. I think there's also opportunities for having job postings specifically listed on NC State job boards that students can come and see. So if anyone's interested in that, our booth is kind of in the very back corner over there. Or you can just come talk to me after and we can get you hooked up.
Excellent. So for those listening to the podcast that maybe are not at the expo this year, maybe you want to come by next year and you can and find some of the people to do the things you need to do in your
Absolutely
within your business.
I got a question for all you guys, kind of, because everybody's in the industry, obviously. And this is switching gears big time, but just something that just popped into my head. A trend that we're having here is, as a lot of folks on the fabrication side, but also the manufacturing distribution side are getting older. So on the fabrication side, it's the knowledge of how to build these products, but on the manufacturing and the distribution side, it's the knowledge of these products and how they can work for you. What do you guys see the future of our industry? For us, I know being a small canvas shop with 4 or 5 employees and then having a couple other locations as well that we are like the distribution center, or the production center for, that have 3, 4 employees. So we have about 10 in our total company between the 3 locations. Our biggest thing we're worried about is in the future is finding folks that are still wanting to sew. That's kind of I don't want to call it I kind of feel like it's a dying trend. Maybe some people will disagree, but that's, that, and then skilled labor as a whole, whether it be other trades like electrical or plumbing, things are, I don't want to call them dying, but they're not a field that kids are coming out of that high school scene and looking like, hey, I want to be a sewer, or I want to go pattern some boats like I do. So again, a lot of my friends never understood it and they went into other different things. What do you guys see the future of the industry and how that's going to sort of replace folks that eventually are inevitably going to retire at some point?
Yeah. So as we know, a lot of businesses in our industry, they seem to be family. So it's generation 1, generation 2. And I would say for a short period of time, I was getting a little worried. The industry was getting older, if you will. I wasn't seeing, that's why I asked Erin why she chose textiles. But I know this sounds ironic, but last night I was looking around at industry night after watching the band, of course. And I noticed, and I said it to a couple other people, I said, it looks like we're starting to get younger. And I don't know what it is. And that's not science, but
were you just judging by just the amount of gray
hair? They're a lot of fun, but I am starting to sense more enthusiasm. I think this industry, let's face it, when your friends ask you, what do you do again? Okay, well, awnings on the front of you have to, it's really hard. Or, a truck tarp. Yeah. So I don't know where I'm going with that other than to say, I sense it's getting younger and maybe there's just more interest in it. So
was it just, again,
that wasn't profound. It was just an observation.
Was it a show? Like, did you just see a lot more color on the top of heads in the room?
I think that's what it was. I think it was.
In Rhode Island, I'm chair of the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network, which is an affiliation of the textile companies in Rhode Island. And one of the ideas that came out of our group was to try to get some money from Washington, D.C. that would, because all of our companies, are stressed in terms of margin. So if someone's retiring and they're running a piece, and this is basically related to people who run large pieces of equipment, they're aging out. To your point, Kyle, and now we need young people to replace them, but these companies can't afford to have 2 people running the machine for 6 months while the younger person gets trained. So Senator Whitehouse was able to secure some funds that's going to be matched by the Rhode Island Department of Labor, and it will provide grants to companies that will pay for the salary of the retiring worker after they retire from the country to train the replacement worker, so that the company doesn't have to pay those 2 salaries. They only have to pay 1. So we're going to be a pilot program for that. And the money is coming through the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which every state has one of those. So if we can make it work, then I'm hopeful that that's something that can spread to other states as well. And that would provide, if you're a manufacturer, it would provide you with the opportunity to replace that worker with a younger worker without it stressing your, financially.
And I know that where I'm from, which is up in we're from Montreal, so up in Quebec, there are government programs like that as well that will pay for that mentor for the time that they're there while they're training that employee, and you can get grants for that. So I think that's the key thing. People
Yeah,
have to look into
it doesn't address the sexy aspect, and Jeff's dead on with that. I mean,
Listen, I think
we
you
make
guys-
light of it. We make light of it, but it's true. And so we also have to change the hearts and minds of young people and their parents, because their parents, don't forget, if to Jeff's point, kid comes home all excited after going to a career fair and he meets some textile companies, and because we've done that at the University of Rhode Island there, and similar to what you're doing in North Carolina State, and say, oh, I want to get into the textile industry. Are their parents going to say, oh yeah, that's great, don't be a lawyer, work for a textile company? Now, and that's because we've got to change their hearts and minds as well as the kids. And that's the only way we can do that, is by getting out into the communities, getting out into the schools and talking about textiles and making sure people understand that textiles are good paying jobs.
Yeah, I think what you were just saying there too is part of what we've found at our shop, and we don't hire a lot of folks because we have a small workforce. So, we might only be hiring, once every 5 years or something, or as we're growing, maybe a little bit adding to staff. But we've had a sewer that's with us for 20 years, another one that was with us for 30 years. So we've got a lot of gray hair walking around our shop, actually. On my left are, obviously, myself included, are some of the younger people in the industry or getting into the industry. And I'm going to let Todd answer this question, who works for us and is a first-time attendee. But, like when I brought Todd in, I originally, when I was looking for another CAD person and someone to add to our team, which when you're in a small shop, let's face it, you don't just do one thing. He does all kinds of stuff. I mean, this guy's out there cutting the grass sometimes too, and that needs to be done. We do everything. But when I was bringing someone in, I was looking for someone with like a degree in something with CAD. And then I was quickly realizing that I was going to have to pay them more than I was paying myself at our shop to do something like that. And I'm like, this person's just going to be, I'm just going to have to give them half ownership of the company to come in or something. So Todd had actually been down in Florida nearby here. They moved down, him and his now wife moved down for a while, and then they moved back to be back by family. And Todd went and pursued just a certificate program for CAD. And he already immediately came in knowing more about CAD than I did, because, our industry, when we do that CAD, that technology stuff, we tend to use a small fraction of what all those programs and have capabilities with, So, with Todd, he was not into the industry at all. But I think the cool thing for him is, and I'll again let him kind of expand on this, but I think he's conveyed to me that he really likes just the creativity that's in our industry and the ability to be part of making some really cool projects that, those are the things you can show people, like, hey, look what we did on this boat, or, look what we did on this awning, or some other sort of textile related thing. Is I helped create this, and this is just this really cool thing we did. Or, at least the people look at these pictures of these boats and go, wow, that's a cool boat. How much does that cost or something? But yeah, I'll let Todd kind of take that question of, not really more of a question, but just kind of a conversation of, that's inspiration to be in this industry. And I'm sure it's not what you thought it was coming in, but why do you like this so much? And what drives you to come to work every day? Almost is kind of sort of the question, the topic.
So before I started at Marine Tops, I think I only rode on a boat once, maybe. I had nothing to do with boats, but what a big thing that motivates me to come to work is the work, the environment. Kyle's not just my boss, he's a mentor, and at the end of the work, he's a friend I can talk to, and Carl as well. So it's a big family, and it makes it easy to come to work and want to contribute, and just building something just from an idea. I've always been really crafty, and I do a lot of woodworking at home. So this has helped me build my confidence in and outside of work, and help me tap into my more creative side. So
yeah, and Todd, to add to that too, is Todd does not do sewing at our shop. Well, maybe he might dabble around a little bit, but he really does mostly CAD. He's helped me do some patterning or digitally measuring boats. And then we do some installing. He does a little bit of everything. We're in some upholstery stuff, but I mean, he's been inspired to, he's got at home now, he's got himself a small kind of home embroidery machine, and he's been starting to work with that kind of stuff where he didn't even get into sewing, but he was just kind of like, wow, this is cool. I want to try this. I want to try being more creative, outside of work, which is, I kind of think kind of cool. And so that, this industry has a lot more, like you said, than really meets the eye. And I think it's up to us folks that are in hiring positions, in recruiting positions, to bring people into the industry, to show them that you're right. It's a little sexier, not a lot, but a little sexier than it looks, actually. So there is some cool stuff. There's some really cool things that happen in this industry. And if you go to some of these different booths, you talk to them and they can explain some of the things that they've been making. We were at a fasteners booth that makes snaps and different things like that. And they were talking about, they've been around since the early 1800s, and they've made snaps for several of the wars. And he was saying, hey, if you go to the Civil War battlegrounds, you can find our snaps buried in, those battlefields and things like that. And those wars made us a profitable company for a long time. So it's just cool to kind of see there's a lot of history in our industry, and there's just more than meets the eye. Not to quote the Transformers, I'm a big Transformers fan, but more than meets the eye, as Optimus Prime would say.
Well, before I move on to, I'd like to comment on the whole, next generation coming through. And I think Jeff makes a great point that I think we are getting younger. And the other thing that I've been hearing more and more about the generation that's coming up, that are coming into the workforce now, is that they're really looking for that balance between work and quality of life. And they're not looking to work crazy long, weeks, 60 to 80 hours. People are looking for, and this is not even just that generation, but I think that's one of the things that's come out of the pandemic as well, that it's not just the new generation that's thinking that way, but it's even the people in the workforce that are looking for that. I've seen it in the professional industry. It's difficult to get people in the financial industry and accounting and that, because they don't want to work for the big firms where they're going to get worked to the bone and not have any quality of life. They're looking for flexibility. And I think we're fortunate in the business that we're in, we can be cyclical. We have slower times. We can offer time off. We can offer, in a family industry, you can kind of balance that out. So I think if we make the effort to have that, to really use the flexibility that we have in being in small businesses, then we really can attract people to our industry.
That's an excellent point, because in my experience, we don't pay as high as some other companies, but we do allow a lot of flexibility in terms of employees being able to get time off when they need it, to do something that they have to do. And because of that, we had to lay off a lot of people during COVID, as most of us did. Almost every one of those people came back when we finally got our business going again. Right. Because they could make more money doing something else, but they wouldn't have the flexibility that they have, working for our company. So I think there's a trade-off there, and you're right about that, about flexibility and what younger people, I think, are more interested in a company.
Right.
Yeah, I think younger people too, myself, be included, but being an owner, I can't really fire or hire myself. I'd like to some days, but I think it's just, if you're, as a company, you buy into your employees or commit to them, which can mean a lot, of course. It's that flexibility. It's a lot of different things. It's not just pay. But if you buy into them and commit to them and show that, hey, we really value you, then that's when they're willing to, okay, maybe I will work a little bit more. You buy into me, I'm going to buy into you. You got my back, I'll have your back. And like you said, some of these larger companies, not necessarily even in our industry, I'm not talking about, but maybe just some white collar desk job type of companies have over the years gotten to the point like, hey, we'll pay you more, but we need you to, work you to the bone. And it's just, you're a number. Folks don't want that feel. They want to feel like they matter at a company. And that's, with our small shop, that's what we try to do. And that's what just tends to happen is, everybody is just as important as the other people. Me and my dad being owners are no more important than our sewers, and Todd here to my left. If one of us is gone, that's tough, and in a small business, for us, if one of us is gone, that's like losing 20% of your employees for a large business too. So that's that can be a daunting task. So a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, kind of thing.
No, and we may often think of ourselves as smaller businesses being at a disadvantage because maybe we're not offering as much opportunity for promotion or for advancement. But because we're smaller businesses, you get the opportunity to wear a lot of hats. You get the opportunity to have a lot more variety in your day. Kyle, you touched on it, everything from cutting the grass to to whatever needs to be done, and that cross training can give people the opportunity to do different work at different days and have that variety. So it's not just repetition, so there's opportunities for learning and maybe not crazy advancement or promotional levels, but there's good horizontal movement and you're gaining a ton of different experience and being able and marketable skills as as somebody in the industry and to move on to other industries as well.
So you want to touch on this last question here?
Yeah. We so this is one that we get to where you get to kind of come out with a bit of a wish list for the ATA. So it's a two-part question. Love to ask everybody what has been their favorite location for an ATA show and why, and do you have a wish list for where you'd love to see the show go, maybe that it hasn't been, and I know we'd love to have a show there.
I think I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Boston was probably one of my just such a unique city. I really liked it, man. I think it'd be really cool, brown nosing, to go to Montreal.
All right,
why not? Why don't we do a show in Canada?
You heard it here first, ATA.
Hey,
it's a cool city.
Jeff Sponseller of Miller Weldmaster wants to go to Montreal, and let me tell you, it is a good time.
I can't say that I have a wish list for a particular place for the show to be. I do think it's important that the show be at a location that's going to be a draw for folks. Now, it's a crystal ball. You don't know what city is going to be a draw, but for me, don't really have a wish list for a location because I'm going to see all my friends. Hopefully, no matter what where the location is. So, but I would just caution about going to a location where people you don't have as many people able to show up.
Right. Fair enough. All right.
I'll just say I loved the Nashville show simply because of the Nashville hot chicken.
All right.
So that's all I'll say about that.
And Todd, I'll let you pick between the MFA show that you were in, so you can't.
I would
don't have
say
to
just
say
anywhere
this one.
warm.
Yeah.
It's usually in a cold month for us, so
Spoken
anywhere warm.
Spoken like a true Wisconsinite up north, where we left our snow and we came down here and we had flip flops on yesterday. It's gotten a little cold the last couple of days, so I'm wearing like a sweatshirt now. I don't know what's going on, but
this isn't cold.
Well, I would say location Orlando seems to draw a lot of people. People will bring their families, but this is the best people watching show I've been to because it coincides with the Mr. and Mrs. Olympian show. Turns out they don't have a dad bod contest, so I was a little disappointed from that point of view, but it has been a great location for people watching.
So maybe we should just be co-locating with a different type of show.
All right. Good. And actually, on that topic, you talk about a dad bod contest, and they talked about how unsexy our industry is, whatever. But if you could see these sharp dressed gentlemen sitting to my right, I know this is a podcast and the listeners don't get to see it, but I'd argue that they're bringing sexy back to the industry.
And maybe we need to go
Thank you
over
for that.
and maybe we need to start recruiting some of those guys and gals that were at that show yesterday. Maybe that will make our industry sexier. And shirtless probably too, but sexier nonetheless. I think for me, and I'm going to draw off of my MFA conference experience too. Actually, no, I'm not, because I think Nashville actually was probably one of my favorites too. This is only the third ATA Expo I've been to, because being a smaller shop, we can't do it, the MFA conference and this every year. I suppose we could, but we don't, just because we're a small shop and there's budgets and things like that, of course. So we do try to do this every 2, 3, 4 years at the most, just to stay current with everything, so we can go see everything. And Todd being a new guy for us, I wanted to definitely bring him here, and it just kind of worked out with some scheduling for other things too. But yeah, I think Nashville was an awesome show. I'm a big fan of Nashville and country music and live music, so it was we had our fair share of fun in that city, as we did last year at the MFA conference in New Orleans as well. But Geez, I guess I have fun every time, everywhere we go. I just bring the fun.
It's funny when you
Yes, I
said
don't know.
Nashville, though. I saw the drummer down there shaking her head. Yeah, Nashville.
Yeah, as someone who unfortunately missed the Nashville show because of the COVID regulations at the time, it made it difficult to cross the border and coming back for such a short time. I would absolutely like to request that it goes back to Nashville sooner than later so that I can go. I was so looking forward to taking advantage of that live music scene and and going down for the show that's definitely a regrettable miss. Kyle, you touched on New Orleans, absolutely one of my favorite locations. I'd love to go back there. I know we're going to Anaheim next year, so we get to go surf on the West Coast. So that's a lot of fun. And then one more addition, I'd love to go to Chicago again. I think it's been a long time since the show's been there.
I can drive to Chicago, so that wouldn't be so bad. I guess that'd be cheaper. We would definitely come, no doubt.
Excellent.
No doubt.
All right. Well, listen, I think that's going to wrap up our podcast for today. And I'd really, really like to sincerely thank our guest panel here for taking the time, Jeff, for taking the time out of, exhibiting on the show floor and entrusting the customers to the rest of the folks on your team, but really for everybody to have taken their time and spent this time with us and given your perspectives on the ATA show. We really appreciate it. So thanks very much, everyone.
And don't forget, guys, just one thing I wanted to plug too, this Talking Textiles podcast. Both Mark and I post on our own different podcasts along with some other folks that are in the series too. Podcasts can be our previous one and our future ones. This one as well can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever you basically get your podcasts. So I encourage you guys to check them out. And if you're interested, talk to one of us about being a guest on the podcast.
Thanks again, everyone. And that's going to conclude this edition of Talking Textiles. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And you don't have to go home. You just can't stay here.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of ATA Talking Textiles live at Expo. ATA is a not-for-profit association representing the international specialty fabrics marketplace. Learn more about events, workshops, and webinars ATA hosts throughout the year at textiles.org/events.